from Capital One, and started off with a good year. And this year, with everything that's going on, obviously with coronavirus, and we wanted to figure out a way to come together and partner and give back to our local community. Ray Wright, who is also on this call, is a good friend of mine. He's our pit coach here at RCR and started Pit Stops for Hope a while back. And I've always enjoyed working with him and seeing the work that he has done throughout our community for the education factor in the local Piedmont Triad, and then also just meals, providing meals for kids, and getting ready to have my first kid and seeing what fatherhood's about. And it's kind of my mission to help support other children. And Ray's always been really good with, our racing community, bringing them together to find out ways that we can give back. And it was really cool for GM Bi-Power Car from Capital One to help us out here. And it's made our relationship tie together closer and really brought that family atmosphere to it.
Great. And then let's go ahead and open this up for questions. Jenna Fryer, you are first.
Hey, Austin. I'm asking other drivers just from a really wide view, what you think of this past week and how NASCAR got back to racing. First, you had to handle just the return itself and the health protocols and pulling it off without a disaster. And then you guys actually got 3 really good races out of it and have some momentum going into the 600. So I'm curious how you think this week has gone from a really wide view.
Well, I was sitting at home last night and I felt had the TV on ESPN, and I saw Chase Briscoe's amazing victory and his interview, and seeing that on ESPN. It's been a minute since our sport's really been featured on that channel, and that just kind of made me proud of NASCAR for the efforts that they went through to be the first big sport back. I mean, obviously UFC did a really good job also and bringing back sports, but I think NASCAR, a lot of people were watching because of the amount of people that we have to bring to the track. It's huge for our sport. I'm really proud of all of the guys that made it happen, guys and girls from NASCAR that have made it happen and done a good job bringing it back safely. I felt like it run super smooth. Obviously, it was awkward for the first time sitting, waiting, and not being able to do things leading up to the race. That was kind of tough. But as far as going out and getting in the race car and getting back on track, it felt so good just to be in a race car again. Because as soon as the green flag dropped, it was a race. And you saw that. It was good racing. But, yes, we do have big momentum going into the 600, one of our best races as a sport that we have, and looking forward to that race.
Now, with all these new eyes on you and people who are maybe new to NASCAR, how do you get them to sit through the 600, which is not always the most exciting race?
Well, I think the package that we're bringing to the track now for 1.5 miles makes it more exciting. This weekend at Darlington, if you'd have told me of those 2 races that we would have only gotten 1 green flag stop in over 2 races, that would have surprised me. I feel like it was pretty action-packed when it came to cautions and people wrecking, spinning out. Some spinning out, I feel like to bring a caution out, that's a different subject. But I do feel like the racing will be action-packed this weekend at Charlotte, and there'll be good action on the track to be able to follow along. And obviously restarts and the stages have definitely brought more excitement throughout our races.
Thank you, Austin.
Bob Packers.
Yeah, Austin, I'm curious, how are you feeling physically, and do you think any drivers will be kind of falling out of the seat for the 600, or the fact that there's no practice and no qualifying? Well, there's qualifying, but no practice. Is the guys going to be in pretty good shape?
Yeah, I've spent some of my time, obviously a lot of my time early in the mornings during this coronavirus pandemic working out. So I feel like I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been because I've had time usually I'm during this time frame, I'm not allowed, I just can't find the time to really get on a routine and focus on working out because I have a lot more obligations than I currently do. So I've been able to really focus on my physical fitness, and that's been a good thing for me. I hope some of the guys have been lazy and played video games a lot, and they fall out of the seat on Sunday, because I feel like I'll be one of the guys that is in a good position to hold on to that steering wheel for all 600 miles and put myself in a good position when it comes down to it at the end. It is a quick turnaround because each race, the lingering effects of a long race, you definitely feel the dehydration factor, and you can get that back quick. But I feel like there's also just time that your muscles and stuff take to kind of recover. You can get the hydration back quick, but I used to run 2-3 races on a weekend, and I know how I recovered from those. So I think this is the same as just kind of going back in time when I was running both Xfinity and Cup and sometimes truck. And you got the guys that just know how to deal with that and how to keep themselves in good hydration, and it helps in the long run.
And what have you seen as far as doing this kind of accelerated schedule, as far as like the equipment at RCR? Do you feel like you guys are in good shape for all these races in a short amount of time?
Well, as long as we don't tear anything up, I feel like we did a good job this past the first 2 races. It definitely could put a burden on your team if you wreck cars. You've seen some teams that lost 2 cars in 2 races. That's not a good start, obviously, to a couple months worth of races packed in. It just creates longer hours with a shorter group of guys that are able to work on the cars. You don't get the road crew. You don't give the road crew an ability to go help your mechanics work on the car because you're separating them. So you just don't want to put your team behind by wrecking cars. And we're in a pretty good spot right now. I feel like at RCR we're able to turn both those cars around and be able to run them again.
Thank you.
Jeff Gluck?
Yeah, you got people fired up about the choose cone, the choose rule. Yesterday on Twitter, you started this whole thing. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on why you think this is such a good idea and something that NASCAR needs to adopt.
Yeah, so my thoughts are, as a sport, we're always changing. We've done a really good job with the 1.5 mile program and brought it back to life. I think the next thing is trying to make it better for the fans and create more drama than it already has. And the choose cone is something that is utilized throughout short tracks in America, dirt tracks, asphalt, you name it. You see it on a weekly basis at places that, heck, when I was Legends car racing at 14-year-old with no radios, you could figure out how to make a choose cone work. You just chose, and that was your line that you had to make. This puts it in the driver's hands. It kind of allows us to decide our fate when it comes down to restarts. You can't just be bummed because you got the bottom and you lost 4 spots on the last restart and you were really a 10th place car or a 5th place car, and you lose spots because of your line you've had to choose. This makes it where you get to that choose cone, and the first 3 cars have chosen the outside. That guy in 4th can pull all the way up to the inside pole and try and make it work. And same throughout the back of the field. You'll have guys that'll take the outside 3 or 4 rows worth of it, and it gives that guy said, all right, go see if you can make it happen and keep those spots that you think you can gain on the bottom. I think you'll see the announcers in the booth will have something else to talk about, man. After the race, you'll be questioning, man, I should have chosen a different line. I should have chosen the top, or I should have chosen the bottom instead of I was given the bottom. And then also pit road. I was watching an Xfinity race yesterday, and there's guys literally brake checking to get off the end of pit road. It takes out pit crews fast stops. Your pit crew could have gained you a couple spots there, but instead you're giving up 2 spots because you'd rather start on the outside. That's got to stop. I think it's going to knock somebody's nose in at the end of pit road before too long, so that'll end a guy's race. I don't feel like it is a hard thing to do. I know that the cone with the rope is a little outdated. I just want a painted area in the restart line. A bunch of the drivers got together and we talked about it feel like we can accomplish it as a group. We've been able to bring our sport back through a pandemic. I think we can make a choose rule work. It's not that complicated in my eyes. Now, I don't want to be the guy up there in the booth the first time, because I feel like it would be a little bit hard. But there's certain tracks, like you go to Michigan, you've got a long time before you get back around the start-finish line. I think that'd be a great place to practice it for the first time. And it's also a place that top line is dominant. You lose 3 or 4 spots by the time you get to turn 1 because of the draft there. So it would create a long time for them to be able to straighten it out by the time we got back around. I think personally, the drivers can straighten it out themselves. You choose a line, you must stay in that line after that mark. If you swap lanes, you're automatically black flag, brought to the back. And if you don't give up your position before the start, it's a lap penalty. I think that will create a way that no one's going to mess around and change lanes. If you get to that line, you got to make your decision, and that's what it is.
Now, do you get the sense that NASCAR is open to this? Like when you guys have had conversations with them, they seem like, okay, maybe it's something that they'll consider?
I think they're definitely open to it, from the discussions I've had. I just feel like there's a lot going on right now. So I can't push too hard because they have a lot on their plate. But it is something that I wish that they would put kind of on the driver's plate to kind of handle a little bit, because I feel like given that responsibility, we can do a good job as a group, have a meeting about it like this and talk about it as drivers and try and make it happen for our sport, because I know it will be more exciting and give you that, like I said, put it back in our hands at the end of the race to be able to decide our fate.
Thank you.
And then just before we wrap up, let's go to Ray Wright and have him talk a little bit about Pit Stops for Hope and the donation between Austin Dillon and the GM Buy Power Card.
Thanks, Jackie. So basically, Pit Stops for Hope started in 2013, started right here at RCR. When we found out that North Carolina, our home state, has a major problem with children in being food insecure. So 1 in 4 kids in North Carolina go to school hungry. And so a lot of these kids are elementary school age kids, middle school age kids. So what you have is a lot of kids who aren't getting the proper nutrition. Their brains aren't developing, right? So when you get more into schools, you find out that the teachers in the school system are actually putting snacks in the kids' backpacks, trying to help them get through the day. They're putting school supplies in their backpacks. And the teachers do not have a budget for that in our state. The teachers are amongst the lowest paid teachers in the country. So our society is really, we're continuing this cycle of poverty. We're sending hungry kids to school, and then they're going into a classroom that's not properly funded by a teacher who's not properly paid. So what we're doing is we're paving the way for poverty, and that's been Pit Stops for Hope's mission since 2013, to raise awareness for these kids and for better education. We help them find food, and we help these teachers provide a better atmosphere to learn. And so Austin has been, I've known Austin since he was in high school. We've had a great relationship through the years. I was the minister at his wedding, and he has been with Pit Stops for Hope since 2013, the day we started. He loved the idea, loved that it was a local charity, because he knows the need that's in this area, and it's a big need. And what we're doing right now with what's going on with the Buy Power Card with GM is something that it can't come at a better time. Kids were in trouble before this pandemic. Now schools were canceled, so you have kids who had to do online learning, who in their houses, they might not have a parent home. They definitely don't have a Chromebook to learn online. A lot of kids went to school just to get food. So now they're at home. They don't have nutrition at their house, and they don't have the tools to learn online. So before the pandemic was a problem, and now during the pandemic, there is a bigger problem. So this is perfect timing. We got up with local officials in our county and the counties that surround us, and we tried to find out exactly who needs Chromebooks, who needs tablets. We're doing food giveaways. We've done 2 food giveaways in the parking lots of these schools. We posted some of those pictures up on our social media. The lines were out onto the road for people waiting to pick up a sandwich. So I'm just always proud of Austin, always proud of who he is, how he represents himself, how he represents his home state and his hometown. And we're very happy at Pit Stops for Hope that we have this money to go help the community with.
Thanks, Ray. For anyone who didn't get to record, I will render this, and you can reach out to me or NASCAR Media, and we'll make sure that you get it. So thanks to everyone who called in. We appreciate it. And we're done.
That's all they get? No more questions?
I don't think anyone else has. No one else has their hand raised.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Good luck,
Dustin
Austin.
Long has his hand raised.
Dustin.
And so does Daniel McFadden.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So, Austin, with you now have had 6 full-time races this season with Tyler Reddick as your teammate. What have you seen out of him? What's impressed you about what he's been able to produce so far this year in his rookie campaign?
Oh, he's fast. I feel like his ability to find speed in the track is what's impressed me the most. Obviously the top line is a place that he likes to go and get there quick, probably faster than most of the people out on the track. So he's done a really good job of making the cars get to the end of the race too. I think a lot of people thought that without the fiberglass body, it was going to be tough, but he's done a really good job of taking care of his stuff. So he's impressive, and he's definitely pushing me. I know that as a group at RCR, we're excited. I think that we've got 2 young drivers that are ready to eat when it comes out there at the track, and we're going to push each other to become where we need to be, and that's we want to put RCR in that group of top teams to be watching out for.
Okay. Anyone else? Eddie Hughes.
Hey, Austin, you heard what Ray had to say about you. What do you think about Ray and y'all's relationship? You guys go way back, and just being able to help him out and his organization this weekend.
Well, Ray and I are very similar in a lot of ways. We're fiery people, and I love that about him. And I know that if given the right amount of help, and we've got some really good partners at RCR, and when they come together to like the GM Buy Power card from Capital One, those guys stepped up quick to help us out. You know what I mean? And Ray will deliver for them on the other side. We're all about making sure that we deliver when someone steps up like that. So I know that I can trust Ray to go out and really help our community and help give back. So I trust him, and that's a big part of it. Just like our partners trust in us when it comes to delivering something like this.
And then George has a question as well.
Thanks, Austin. I'm a couple hours from Midland, Michigan. Of course, Dow has a big presence there. Just wondering if you've had a chance to talk to anybody up there, reach out, if you can give us your take on what they're going through in that part of the state. Yeah,
man, it's really sad what's going on up there in Midland. I've created a lot of relationships over the years with our partners at Dow, flying up there and walking through many different plants that they have, and then also just creating relationships. One of my hunting buddies lives up there works at Dow. I talked to him when the first dam broke, I think, and just kind of telling me how devastating it is. I've been walking through a lot of that area, played golf there last year for the LPGA tournament that went on, and everything's underwater. It's sad. And I think RCR is starting to put stuff together to kind of show our support and reach out and try and figure out the best way that we can help Midland and the community. I saw that Jim Fitterling and Dow have already put up $1 million to help kind of start that rebuild process. And it's going to take a lot of work, it looks like. And I'm seeing people in the community, the Kiefer brothers, who are also in that community, of watching their stories on Instagram and just seeing the devastation. And, that's a strong community there, though. I have no doubt that they will be able to rally and get that place back quick. So sad to see what happened. And I want to help in any way we can. And I think we already have started something. I think Jackie can kind of answer that with my grandfather.
Yeah, so
Great.
Richard made a $25,000 donation to the Feeding America chapter located closest to Midland. And that money should be coming soon. We know there's a lot of people hungry that need help.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I think that's it, guys.
Thanks,
you.
guys.